Great. How you guys doing? Good to meet you all. Well, first, man, thank you all for coming. I know you guys had to be a little bit patient, and we all did a little bit, but this has been tremendous. I tell you what, the transition. I got to thank Mr. Lurie, Howie, Nick, really everybody part of the Eagles organization for really giving me this opportunity. It's been a blessing. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks as well for giving me my access and opportunity in the league. And I grew a lot there in those years of experience. It really helped me become the person and the coach I am today. And the honest truth is this is it's an emotional kind of homecoming for me to come back to Philadelphia. There's a lot of pride that we take in this city. My wife went to school here. I went to school here. I started my coaching career here at Temple University down the road, and we helped turn that program around there. And to come full circle almost and come on the other side of Broad Street where is a different level of football over here is really special. And so we don't take this lightly. We're really humbled to be in this role and really proud to be in this role and really excited to represent this city and really pour back into this city the way kind of the city poured into me and my family coming up as I was younger. With
Sean,
that, let's go.
Sean, how did the whole process go with you getting interviewed and then ultimately getting the job?
Well, I mean, it was a whirlwind of a process for a lot of reasons, because I had some other interviews and everything as well. And the season over here obviously went so long and things prolonged a little bit. And I will say this, it was the most thorough process I've ever been a part of. And I say that because I think that's a credit to the people in this organization and the way they don't let anybody come into this culture that doesn't fit it. And that's, from Mr. Lurie to Howie to Nick. And I appreciate the thoroughness and the detail because that's kind of some things I pride myself on, in being upfront, being detailed, being thorough. And so that was a real good connection that I thought we built from the beginning. And I enjoyed going through that process.
Nick has mentioned attention to detail when he's talked about you, Sean, and we said what stood out about you. He said attention to detail a couple of times. When he says that, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think it's kind of as it is. Like, you don't leave any stone unturned. It's our job to prepare and prepare ourselves, our coaches, and our players, and put them in the best position possible. And that starts every day. And if there's a slight detail that's wrong or kind of out of place, that's a reflection of me. And I own that, and I take a lot of pride in that because I think if I am prepared, that gives our players and our coaches a chance to be prepared. And if I'm not prepared, well, it's a trickle-down effect, and we all know that. It's the same thing in every industry. You guys deal with the same thing, And so as the leader of this defense, I got to make sure I'm on my game. And it's an every minute, every day type of thing. And I got to make sure I got enough foresight to kind of anticipate what's coming up ahead and making sure I give our guys a plan and a process to achieve our goals.
Defensive philosophy?
Oh.
And what's this defense going to look like?
Yeah. My overall defensive philosophy, and I've talked to our players and our coaches, and it's something that we want to build together, right? I don't think it's something that I can impart on somebody and say, this is the all-inclusive way to play defense. The one things that we've agreed on, we've talked about as a staff and really a group, is there's a certain mentality that we want to reflect. And I really believe in the city's teams got to reflect the city. And we've got some grit, we've got some toughness. We want to be able to impose our will. We're not going to take really anything from anybody. And we want to make sure that people feel us. We want to be able to run, we want to be able to hit, and we want to play smart. And I think that's a reflection of who we are. Obviously, as a Philadelphia Eagles defense, a reflection of really the history of the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and a reflection of the city. And that's what we want to be. We want to be an encompassing part of that. And, one thing I told the team, was it maybe last week at the end of meetings on Thursday, was I asked them if they knew what the word palpable meant. You guys know? Yeah, right? I mean, it's feeling you. And that's what we want. We want to be able to be felt, whether you're watching us on TV, whether you're in the stadium, and obviously on the field. We want to make sure people feel this Philadelphia Eagles defense.
What's something that you can take from your previous stint at Chicago Bears, something you learned that you think you can bring into the job now?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's so many things you learn. There's so many things you learn, and if you're not learning, I think you're really not growing. in this deal. And I'm talking, for me, it's a daily process. So, one of the things I learned is I got to continue to find the best ways to put our coaches and players in the best position to win every game. And it's a play-by-play mentality that, I can't be a play late as a play caller. Because if I'm a play late, that's a reflection on the players and the coaches. And that's on me. And so I got to make sure I stay ahead of it, stay ahead of where the game is trending, and constantly be prepared that way to organize ourselves and give our chances a best chance to win, give our guys the best chance to win. Because, right, everybody's good. And that's the part of the play caller kind of chess match between different play callers in this league. You're just trying to get a little bit more better than on each play than the other person. They're going to win their fair share, and we're going to win our fair share. And at the end of the 70 plays or whatever it is, we better want a little bit more than them. And so the result is get what we want. So I think that was a big kind of reminder.
You have a lot of
positions. In Chicago, where you guys been there, you knew the scheme, obviously, you knew the players. What was the first sort of month like for you here? What was the process for you? How did you go about getting to know the personnel and everything?
Yeah, it's kind of full dive into the deep end, and that's kind of how we got to do it. Because you're right, I'm new to the organization on a lot of levels. From a scouting level, in terms of the expectations that were me with the draft and everything, and working with and learning how we evaluate players here, to obviously a schematic level. And there's new coaches, and we're going through a process of hiring new coaches, and that was a thorough process, which I'm proud of. And so that process was great because every experience is different, right? So like you said, the experience at Chicago was there for 9 years and in a lot of different roles, and grew and then transitioned with 3 head coaches. I was the 3rd coordinator, 2 GMs. So you still had those transitions. It's just that the building was the same. You know what I'm saying? And then Seattle was a whole new building, whole new transition, whole new part of the country for me and my family. And so that was a transition that we had to go through here. So you learn from all those, and you kind of hopefully you can speed up that process here, which we had to do. And I think we're well on our way to speeding up that process here.
You have a lot of positions where it looks like there could be competition for starting roles, for playing time and reps. What's your philosophy on going into training camp, having positions settled, or do you like having a lot of competition in a lot of spots?
I think one of coaches, and I believe in it. This is one of the places that we connected. Central themes is compete, and that's really what it is. Regardless of whatever we all may think of the depth and all that stuff, it's about daily competition, and that starts right now. I mean, we just got out of a meeting, and one of our rooms, 2 rooms, one of them did a cahoots competition with their players. You guys know what cahoots is? See, I tell you what, you guys come on now. We got to catch up here with the new teaching and learning methods of the NFL. It's like a online platform where you can quiz people, but it's like real live, so everybody's got their iPads out and they push the buttons and you see who scored the fastest and who graded the fastest. So that's a competition. And then another room did Jeopardy. Yeah, right. We know what Jeopardy is. So that process of the competition is ongoing, and we're going to continue to nurture that feeling throughout the defense and really the organization, because that's what we believe in.
When you look at the
I tell you what, we got to have a little system here, raising hands or something.
We're competitive too.
When you look at the personnel on this team, I mean, last year they had the 70 sacks, a bunch of interceptions and everything like that. I mean, do you see things you can tweak that you can kind of change, or do you think it's just, keep it kind of the way it is and just build on that?
Yeah, I think I respect the question because I'm new, right? And they did have a tremendous year. And we're not going to take anything away from the year of the defense that they had, because it was historic. I mean, 70 sacks, what's that, the 3rd most or 2nd most in the history of the over 100 years of the NFL? I mean, we got to give the credit where it's due in terms of that. But having said that, I think the big thing that we got to remind ourselves, and we're talking about it with the players also, is every year's a new chapter. And past predictors don't necessarily indicate future success in this league, and really in any industry. And so we got to make sure we take that mindset that we start from the bottom again and build this foundation and build this thing from the ground up, regardless of what call you are. I mean, if you're playing cover 1, go ask 32 defensive coordinators. There's pretty much only a couple ways you can play outside leverage cover 1, right? I mean, and then inside leverage cover 1. Okay. but it's about reestablishing those techniques and those fundamentals to be able to do it at a high level and giving them different tools and trades based on route progression and how you're working and different tools to excel. So that's where we're going to really build on.
Sean, the team was able to retain a handful of veterans, particularly BG, Fletch, and then your two cornerbacks. With you arriving here, how much of, I guess, of an assist or help can that be?
I'll tell you what, the culture here is tremendous. And you know, we just talked about the foundation and everything. And one thing that we also, and I mentioned this to the defense in my first unit meeting, is obviously the foundation here was awesome last year. We got to give credit. The foundation for the Philadelphia Eagles defense has been awesome for a long time, right? And one of the quotes that Coach Nick uses, a standard is a standard. We're upholding that standard. We're looking to achieve it. And one of the benefits that oftentimes even maybe I might have took for granted being part of other organizations is you have guys like BG, Fletch, Slay, JB that have, you know, the latter two have been in different organizations. The first two, you want to talk about setting the standard. They set it from 10, 12, 14 years ago. And they've done a tremendous job in kind of making sure that standard doesn't slip through the waves of the NFL. You know, and that's the standard that we're going to uphold. We're going to make sure that we honor those guys and make sure that we can keep rising the standard as the league requires you to.
Sean, the term you used was a near full circle. How does one get from grad assistant at Temple to defensive coordinator at Eagles?
I don't know if I'm the best equipped to answer that. I mean, I can just share my journey and my experience with that. You know, you got to work hard. You got to be good at your job. You got to be good at any roles you're given because those roles all encompass a lot of different things. And the reality is you got to have good people around you. And I've been really blessed to have a lot of good mentors around me. Started with Al Golder, I'm talking about at Temple, you know, as the head coach, where he gave me a grad assistant job. He didn't have to do that. And then he promoted me. And then he helped me get access. And then, you know, Boston College with Frank Spaziani gave me a running back job and a special teams coordinator job. So I had an opportunity to work on the other side of the ball at a top-level program, right? And then it goes to Mark Trestman, Phil Emery, and Mel Tucker that gave me access to the league, right? And then through Vic and Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace that, you know, eventually promoted me. So it's a combination of all of those factors. And I'm not foolish or egotistical enough to think that was just me on my own. You know, and I think that's an important thing. I really do. I think you got to give the credit where it's due, and then you got to work hard. You know, you got to earn it along the way.
Now, some people take to Philly and some people don't. What is it about, you know, the city that you took to that made you want to come back and coach here?
Well, so I'm from Connecticut. I'm from the Northeast. I've lived in pretty much every major city on the East Coast, the major city in Chicago in the Midwest, and then up in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. And I agree, Philly's a unique place. It's unique to all of those cities, and I agree with that mentality. Some people take to it and some people don't. What's attracted me to it is I think the personality, the grit. Like, you got to earn it. And you got to earn it every day. You got to put in the work. And we're tough-minded people. You know, we don't take, you know, I don't like swearing, but, you know, we don't take stuff from other people. And that doesn't mean you do it in an egotistical way. It doesn't mean you do it in any type of way. But you know who you are. You know what your identity is. And you try to achieve that identity every single day. And you have this workman mentality that you're here to put in the work. So that's kind of, you know, going back to the other question, it's kind of how I've built my career, you know, with that mentality that wasn't given to me, and I had to earn it. And I learned a lot of that here in Philly, you know, getting through the doctoral program at Temple while I'm coaching, and then creating opportunities and taking advantage of the opportunities that were given. And I think that's kind of where I came of age. You know, it's 21 to 24 and doing all that stuff. You kind of learn that from your environment, and this was the environment that I grew in.
You mentioned Vic a little bit before. How big an influence on your philosophy is him? And I know, you know, he's sort of the guy around the NFL now, and he mentioned when he got the Miami job that, man, he's tired that everybody runs his philosophy because everybody gets to see it. So what's your sort of framework with that philosophy?
Yeah, he's been a tremendous influence on me. Just as some of these other people have. One of his biggest influences for me, obviously I appreciate his mentorship, we're still close to this day, is really, he's really taught me how to prepare in this league and how to call a game in this league. You know, I had the good fortune of sitting next to him while he was doing that for however many, 5 years or whatever we were together, and to learn it. And I know why his frustrations are the way they are in terms of a lot of people, you know, talking about his scheme and his system, because, you know, he should be very prideful of it because he's established an identity for himself and his defense is over 30 years. And the reality is not everybody's doing it the same way he is, right? And so everybody's got to add their own identity to that defense and apply it. And the other reality is there's only been a couple people that have really spent time with him and worked under him and have really learned under him. And the other people, you know, they've learned through, you know, different channels. It's like the game of telephone, you know, how many times if we go down the line, what's the communication going to get down to the end? And so I think he should take a lot of pride in the way he's done it because he's had a great success.
When you mentioned, Vic, speaking of Vic, you know, his split safety looks have kind of been in vogue in the league, increasingly with a large number of coordinators now adapting that process. You know, what is your philosophy in terms of that? Why is it important to lean maybe heavy on those looks in certain situations?
Yeah, I think the key word to that question is the looks. I think the most important thing is giving an appearance and a look that can cover up a lot of different things you do with your defense and your deployment of your defense and your players. And so that goes into this disguise element that we try to do, right? Because really, we all know, right? You got to impact the quarterback. And our philosophy is we got to impact them physically and mentally. One of them is not going to be good enough. We need both, and we need both on every single play. And so that's a function of the looks that we give. And so we'll give them split safety looks and play split safety. We'll give them split safety looks and play post high. We'll give them post high looks and play split safety. We'll give them post high looks and play post high. Right after that, there's only those really 4 combinations you can do, right? There's only so many ways you can deploy people in this league. But that's the essence of what we're trying to get done when we do that, because we got to impact the quarterback.
When you met your involvement in the draft process, what did you see in Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith specifically at the top, and you know how excited were you to get those guys?
Yeah, I was really excited. Anytime to be honest with you, for me, anytime we get defensive players through the draft, wherever level they are, I get really excited, right? Because you're just adding more talent to the room, to your group, and then you're being able to be creative in how you can utilize that talent and creating more competition, right? And so in particular with those two guys, I mean, obviously they've had championship careers where they've been, so they come from a good pedigree, and they're really athletic and unique at the things that they can do in their own right. You know, Jalen's dynamic and fast and big and strong, and Nolan is those same things, but he's a little bit his leverages go a little bit different with his athleticism and his ability to move in space and rush the passer and do things in a different form. So really excited for both those guys, and really for all the guys, obviously, that we've acquired here, and then really for me, everybody's new, so all the guys that we're learning on the defense.
When you say you want your defense to be felt, do you have a specific vision of what that looks like, whether it be schematic or play style?
I think it's a combination of both, right? And I know you guys will hold me to it, but I hope you do, because this one you can't hold me to. We want to be felt, and hopefully you're sitting at home or in the stadium and you say, "Whew, that was a good play." You might not know the scheme, you might not know anything, but that's how you get felt on defense.